Welcome to Drive the Daf, clear, structured explanation of the daily Daf in 20 minutes. You can even follow in the car.
Taanis Daf contains two Mishnayos rather close together. From the beginning of the Daf until the Mishnayos is a continuation of the Gemara's discussion of Haggadah. It speaks about some great benefits of Eretz Yisrael and Gan Eden with regards to rain, and then it gives us some other information about Eretz Yisrael and Gan Eden. Also gives us the source to part of the machlokes between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yeshua as to where rainwater comes from. Then we'll get to the Mishnah, which introduces the topic of when we stop saying V'sein Talum Matur Levracha. That is when we start saying V'sein Talum Matur Levracha, and the Gemara will give a ruling on that. And then the next Mishnah will tell us about when the fasting begins if you have not had rain in the proper time. The Gemara will discuss when the fasts take place and who are the ones to fast. This will take us into other discussions about Hamini Chachamim and more Haggadah. So the Gemara begins discussing Eretz Yisrael. The Gemara says Eretz Yisrael was created before the other lands, as it says, Ad loy asa Eretz v'chutzos. Before he made the land, and then he made the other areas. The land, of course, refers to Eretz Yisrael. Next, the Gemara says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu waters Eretz Yisrael with rain himself, and the rest of the world receives its rain through a shliach. As it says, Hanosein Matra al Pnei Eretz, Hashem gives rain to the earth. That refers to Eretz Yisrael. Sholeach Mayim al Pnei Chutzos, but he sends water to the rest of the areas. Next is Eretz Yisrael gets rainwater directly, but the rest of the world just gets the leftovers that are squeezed out of the cloud afterwards. Like it says, Hanosein Matra al Pnei Eretz, he sends rainwater to the land, to Eretz Yisrael, but then it says v'shalech mayim al pnei chutzos, but you only get water in the rest of the place, not rain. It says matar to Eretz Yisrael and mayim to everywhere else. Next, the Gemara says Eretz Yisrael gets rain first. It drinks first. It gets liquid. It gets water first. The rest of the world gets afterwards, like it says Hanosein matar pnei Eretz. That first Hashem gives rain to Eretz Yisrael, only afterwards does it send water to the rest of the land. So the Gemara says this is like a person who is making cheese. So he first has the cheese separate from the whey, the curd separate from the whey, and then he takes out the cheese. And that's the main thing, and therefore that's what he's primarily concerned with. Then he leaves the whey behind. The whey has some value, but it just leaves it for the rest for afterwards, and that's why the rest of the world gets its rainwater afterwards. Okay. Now the Gemara wants to know, we said earlier that according to Rabbi Eliezer, the rainwater comes from the ocean, and it comes up to the clouds, and it becomes sweetened in the process of going through the clouds. So the Gemara says, how do you know? Who told you that it becomes sweet in the clouds? So the Gemara has a drasha from two psukim that are very similar. One says, Cheshchas mayim avesh chakim, the darkness of water are thick clouds, and the other says, Chashras mayim avesh chakim, a sieve of water are thick clouds. So Cheshchas and Chashras. So the Gemara says you combine the word Cheshchas and Chashras, and you end up with Chachshoras, which means the cleansing, the preparation, the making kosher, the kashrus. So therefore the water becomes prepared, it becomes kashered in the clouds. Now what does Rav Yeshua do with those two psukim? So the Gemara says, Rav Yeshua explains it like Rav Dimi does, and he says that one is referring to thick, heavy rain clouds with a lot of water. That's the Cheshchas Mayim. Those are the dark clouds, and those are Avesh Chakim. Those are the dark clouds, and they are filled with water. The other is Chashras Mayim. That's the clouds that are just like a sieve. They're not so thick. They don't have such heavy. They have less water. So these two psukim are telling us that the thick, heavy clouds have more water, the dark clouds have more water, and the light clouds have less water. All right. So the Gemara says, what is the following brisa? The following brisa fits with who? Rabbi Elazar or Rabbi Yeshua? The brisa says that the water is the Mayim Elyonim, the upper waters. Those are the waters that are above the sky. They're suspended in the air by the word of Hashem, and their fruits are the rainwater. So, like it says, from the fruit of your actions, the earth is filled. The earth is fed. So, Moses says, who does that fit? Like Moses says, Rabbi Yeshua, it says clearly that the fruit of the upper waters is what gives rain to the earth. So, that's like Rabbi Yeshua. The Gemara says no. Rabbi Eliezer, this could fit with Rabbi Eliezer as well. He doesn't have a problem with this. He'll say that the pasuk is talking about, although the brisa might fit with Rabbi Yeshua, the pasuk is not a problem for Rabbi Eliezer. He'll say that when it says Pri Ma'asecha, it doesn't mean the fruit of the upper waters. It means the fruit of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's actions, and it's his actions which cause the entire process that run the rain cycle. Therefore, he doesn't have a problem at all. Okay, says the Gemara further about Reinu Shub and Levi said the entire world gets water from what's left over from Gan Eden. First water goes to Gan Eden, the rest of the world gets it afterwards. Like the Torah says, "V'nahar yotzim Eden," a river goes out of Gan Eden to the rest of the world. That implies that first the water goes to Gan Eden and only afterwards does it go everywhere else. The Gemara says another thing which is very similar. The Gemara says that the drainage of water of a base car is an area of 3 kavs, meaning if you have a base car of water, what's left over after the base car is 3 kav, and it's 1/60th of the size of the base car. So 3 kavs is 1/60th of a base car. That's how much water is left over in the clouds after you finish emptying the main part of the water out. So the entire world is 1/60th the size of Gan Eden, and therefore it makes sense that the whole world gets what's left over from the water that's sent to Gan Eden first. Now the Gemara brings a list of sizes of places, and again we cannot understand this. I'll be shot. The Gemara says as follows. The Gemara says that Mitzrayim is 400 parses by 400 parses. 60 times bigger than that is Cush. 60 times bigger than Cush is the rest of the world. 60 times bigger than the world is the Gan, the garden. 60 times bigger than the garden is Eden, and 60 times bigger than Eden is Gehenna. So the entire world compared to Gan Eden, compared to Gehenna, is like a pot. Is like the cover of a pot compared to the pot itself. It's very much smaller. And there are some other ones that say Yesh Omrim that Gehenna has no size. It is infinite in its size, and there are some say that Gan Eden has no size. That's what it's infinite in the size. Says Gemara, what's the meaning of the pasuk? Sheichant amayim rabim rabas oitzaros. You live by the great water, and you have a lot of food in your storehouses. This is referring to Bavel, which is on great water. So the Gemara says, why is it that Bavel has full storehouses? That's what this pasuk means. Because they're on great waters, because they're on big rivers. It's slower than all the surrounding areas, and the water flows down to there. Says the Gemara, Bavel is a rich area because you can get grain growing without rain, since water flows down to there from all the other areas. The Abaye says we don't need any rain at all in Bavel because it's swampy and it never gets fully dried out. Now we begin the next Mishnah. The Mishnah discusses what day we start saying we start asking Hashem to send rain. So it's a machlokes. Taanis says we start on the 3rd day of Cheshvan, and Gamliel says we start on the 7th day of Cheshvan, which is 15 days after the end of Shmini Atzeres, so that the last people leaving Eretz Yisrael should have already crossed the Nahar Paras, the Euphrates River. That river will get full and swollen. We won't be able to get across if it rains before then. So Gemara says the halacha is like Rabban Gamliel, that it's 7 days into Cheshvan. Now, the Gemara says this is all in Eretz Yisrael. However, out in the diaspora, out in the Golus, outside Eretz Yisrael, Hananiah says that you wait until 60 days after the Tekufa, 60 days after the autumnal equinox, which is September 23rd. 60 days after that would come out December 4th. That is when you start saying, that is the 60th day, and that's when you start saying V'sein Talmud Levracha. Says the Gemara, Rav Huna Bar Chis, and the name of Shmuel, the halacha is like Hananiah. So Gemara says, but we have a different rule for when you say V'sein Talmud Levracha outside of Eretz Yisrael, and that is from the time that they bring wood into the shed of Tavos, the bird hunter. They used to bring the wood into the shed so that it should be protected from the rain. So that's when. It's nothing to do with 60 days after the Tekufa, after the equinox. The Gemara says, no, it's the same time. The gathering of the wood occurs 60 days after the equinox, and it's the same time. The Gemara says, what about the 60th day itself? Is that included in the 60 days, or is that like after the 60 days? You say it on the 60th day, or you start saying it after the 60th day? So Gemara answers, the 60th day is you're already saying it. You're already saying V'sein Talmud on day number 60. That's according to Rav. And Shmuel says, no, you don't say it at all. So Gemara says, how do you know which one it's which? Machlokes Rav and Shmuel, do you say V'sein Talmud Levracha on day 60 or not? So Menachem Bar Yitzchak says, easy to remember. Those that are high up need water, and therefore they'll say it. Those that are low down do not need water, they're not going to say it. Rav was in Eretz Yisrael, so he doesn't need water, so he needs water because the water flows away from him. Therefore he says he starts saying it already on day 60. And Shmuel was in Bavel, he was lower down, he didn't need so much water. What's the halacha? Says Rav Papa, you do say V'sein Talmud Levracha on day number 60. Okay, now we get to the next Mishnah, which tells us what happens when rain has not come. So the Mishnah says as follows: if day number 17 of Mar Cheshvan comes and rains didn't arrive yet, So the Yechidim, the special distinguished people, Talmidei Chachamim, they begin doing a set of 3 fasts. The Gemara will tell us when those fasts were. Now, if rain has not arrived by Rosh Chodesh Kislev, then Bezdin sets a fast for everybody. 3 days of fast for everybody, not just for those Yechidim. That's for everybody. Now, what are the halachas of the fast? So you're allowed to eat and drink at night. The fast doesn't start until morning. And the 5 Inuyim of Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av do not apply. So you're allowed to work. You're allowed to wash your hands. You're allowed to anoint the body. You're allowed to wear shoes. And Tashmish Hamita is permitted. The only thing that's forbidden is eating and drinking, and only during the day. That's for both sets of fasts. Those of the Yechidim, those of the Chachamim, and those of the Tzibor, if it hasn't arrived, you haven't had rain by Rosh Chodesh Kislev. So Gemara says, whose are these Yechidim? Gemara says it's the Rabbanan. It is the Chachamim. Now, another thing that Rav Huna said is, when do these fasts take place? The Gemara says it's Monday, Thursday, Monday. Gemara says, yes, we know that. There's a brisa that tells me it's Monday, Thursday, Monday. There's a brisa that says you don't start on a Thursday. You have to start on a Monday, and it's Monday, Thursday, Monday. Why do you not start on a Thursday? Make it Thursday, Monday, Thursday. And where it says, because Thursday everybody's buying food. Thursday and Friday everybody's buying food for Shabbos. If it'll be after a fast day, then everybody will be buying twice as much for Shabbos, and then there'll be a run on the stores, and prices will shoot up. You'll have a lot of inflation. We don't want to have that, and therefore we don't want to start the fast day. We don't want to first start it on a Monday. If it'll start on a Monday, not on a Thursday, even though after Thursday you need food, the store owners will already understand by then that this is not because there's some major war happening or something. This is because of the fast day, and it will not cause the prices to go up. Now, should any of these fast days fall on a Rosh Chodesh, or any other days mentioned in Megillas Taanis when you're not allowed to fast, you do not fast. You interrupt the series of fasts, and you pick it up after these times are over. Now, who counts as a Talmid Chacham for these things? It says the Gemara, you have a brisa. A person should not say, oh, I'm just a Talmid, I'm not chashav enough to be one of these people who are supposed to fast. Everybody who's a Talmid Chacham is considered to be a Yachid and is supposed to fast. What's the difference between a Talmid and a Yachid? So Gemara says a Yachid, one who has this chashivas, is anybody who's fitting to be appointed a Parnes, a leader of the Kehillah, which means that he can know answers to halacha on any questions, any halacha question that he's asked. A Talmid is somebody who knows in the area the one thing that he's learning right then. Now, even if the only thing that he's learning is Maseches Kala, a very small sugya, that if he can answer anything in the sugya that he's learning, then he's considered to be a Talmid. Somebody who's not even holding by there, he doesn't have to fast. But a Yachid and a Talmid, both are supposed to fast. Now, another brisa on the subject. The brisa says, not everybody who wants to treat himself as a Yachid, as a chashiv, a person is allowed to fast. But anybody who wants to conduct himself as a Talmid has special rules of how they dress and have to keep certain level of conduct. So he's allowed to keep that, and it's not considered to be like he's a Baal Gaiva or something like that if he wants to do it. That's Rabbi Meir. Says Rabbi Yossi, he is allowed to fast, even if he didn't reach the level of a Yachid. Necessarily he's allowed to fast, and it'll be a good thing, and will be Zochur Latoiv, he'll be remembered for the good, because you're not a Baal Gaiva if you fast. You're doing something which is difficult, and it's taxing for you, and therefore it's not considered to be something that you're not supposed to do. Okay, another similar brisa says, not everyone who wants to act like Yachid is allowed to do that. Not everybody's allowed to fast. Not everybody who wants to act like a Talmid is allowed to fast. That's Rav Shimon ben Elazar's opinion. Shimon Gamliel says that's only talking about something that requires praise, such as wearing the special clothing of Talmidim or of Yechidim. But something which causes you pain, then you're allowed to fast, and it's also Zachar Latoiv, because it's not something that you do for Gaiva, it's something that's hard for you, and you do it anyway. Okay, now we have some more brises about fasting. More says if somebody was fasting because of something that was bad, some tzara, some trouble that he was going through, and it was over, it passed on, and there's no more issue, there's no more reason for him to fast, even during the fast day this happened, he should finish the fast anyway. Or if he was fasting as a skula to heal a person who was very sick and the person recovered, or of course he died, then you still should continue the fast. You should finish the fast. You said you're going to fast, you should continue the fast. Somebody who travels from a place where they're not fasting to a place where they're fasting, or the opposite, from a place where they're fasting to a place where they're not fasting, he has to keep a fast either way. You have to eat chumras of both places. Now, if he forgot and he broke the fast, then he should keep fasting afterwards. He shouldn't say, "Oh, I broke the fast, therefore I'm allowed to eat whatever I want now." He also shouldn't make it clear that he's eating. He shouldn't walk around looking full. He should not show off that he's not hungry. We learned this from Yaakov, who told his sons when they got food, but the people around them, the Bnei Esav, the Bnei Yishmael, were still in a famine, he said to them, Al Tisro. Do not be visibly, he said to them, Lama Tisro. Do not be visible in the fact that you have what to eat. You don't want people being jealous of you for no reason. Now, on the topic of things that were told to the Shvatim, the Gemara brings another thing. When they left Yosef from Mitzrayim, Yosef said to them, Tirgizu baderech, don't become agitated on the way. So what does that mean? So the Gemara brings two pshat. The first pshat is that he said to them, don't learn, don't discuss dvar halacha. You might get distracted and get off the road. So the Gemara says, what do you mean? They're not supposed to learn on the road? What do you mean? Rav Eli, son of Rav Barachia, said, two Talmidei Chachamim are traveling on the road and they're not talking Torah. They deserve to be burnt. Because it says about Elio and Elisha, they were walking on the road and they were talking, which means they were talking divrei Torah, and all of a sudden a rechav eish and susi eish, fiery chariot and horses came down and went between them, but it didn't burn them. So Gemara says, you know why it didn't burn them? Because they were talking dvar halacha. Had they not been talking dvar halacha, they would have been burnt. So we have a contradiction as to whether Talmidei Chachamim are supposed to be learning while they're traveling or not. Someone says not a kasha. It's supposed to be talking and learning, but not an ian. It's supposed to be just discussing, learning, and just bikiyas, just reviewing what they learned. But to get deep into something distracting, that they shouldn't do. The Gemara's other advice, the second shot is that what Yosef had told the Shvatim was don't take big steps. And on the subject, it also says you should come into a city while it's still light outside. You should leave only after the sun comes up, and you should come into the city to rest while the sun is still up. You shouldn't be traveling at night. Why is it like that? You shouldn't travel in big steps because taking big steps takes away 1/500th of the light of a person's eyes, the Gemara says. And you should only travel when the sun is up. I do this in the name of Rav. A person should always come into the city and enter the city by kitov, with the light which is called good. Like it also says, the morning came up and then the men were sent off. The reason for that is obviously to be safe from marauders, from animals, and from getting into an accident because he can't see properly. Now, more advice about travel. Says, in the name of Rechia, somebody traveling on the road should not eat a normal amount. He should eat as much as he would eat if there was a famine, if there was a rov. What's the reason? Because traveling is a physical activity. It will cause stomach cramps. And in Eretz they said because he may not find enough food, therefore he should ration his food. What's the difference between the two reasons? So Mari gives a case where you have to worry about one and not the other. Somebody's traveling on a ship, so he doesn't have to worry about walking. He's not walking, however, he may not have enough food, therefore he should ration his food. Somebody who's traveling from one hotel to another hotel, he's going to be plenty of food, doesn't have to worry about that, but he still has to worry about walking, and he should therefore not exert himself.
Drive the Daf is a project of the Grand Woodlands Shul and is presented by Rabbi Yitzchak Landa. Find us on YouTube or subscribe to daily emails by emailing drivethedaf@gmail.com.